Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be making a video about my experience with the application and interview process for the Disney College program. So just a little heads up for the Disney application process. They're not like always hiring for the college program. They kind of have seasons that they hire. Obviously, if you've done your research, you know that there is Spring Advantage, Spring, Fall Advantage, and Fall. If you're wanting to be here for the fall semester, you're gonna apply during the springtime. If you want to be here during the spring semester, you're gonna apply at the beginning of the fall semester for school. So you're basically applying a semester ahead of when you want to be there. I decided I wanted to apply for the program in December, but I had no idea when applications were going to come out. So when I typed in Disney College program, it took me to their website and I could sign up for email notifications. So I would get an email as soon as applications came out. I signed up for the emails in December and applications didn't start until I want to say the very end of January. I think that's when it was. Yeah, like the very end of January is when applications were even opened. When I got the email saying applications are out, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to submit it ASAP. I need to do it as soon as possible. I don't necessarily think that the sooner you apply, it's not going to affect your chance, because two of my roommates applied one of the last days applications were even open, and they got the very first arrival date for the fall. So it doesn't necessarily affect it, but I know I was just way too excited and I was like, I want to do this right now. There's a couple different sections to the application process. There's three parts: the application, the web-based interview, also known as a WBI, and then there is the phone interview, which is known as a PI. Basically, with the application, you're going to fill out a lot of your just basic information, like your name, your address, your school, your major, things like that. And then it's also going to ask you what type of work experience you have. And it's okay if you don't have work experience, because you can put like volunteer experience and things like that. So I worked in retail for almost 5 years. I had worked, that was like my first job, so my only job ever, and I had worked my way into management at my job, and that is what I put down for the bulk of my work experience. But I was like, this looks bad. I was like, I need to have something else in this section. So I also put in there that I had been in Girl Scouts for 12 years and that I also worked with the Make-A-Wish organization through my sorority. That was our philanthropy. So I got to work with them, which was really cool, just because I know that Disney does a lot of work with Make-A-Wish, because lots of kids have their wish to come to Disney World. Another part on the application is you put the roles that you have interest in, and you can rank it for no interest, high interest, moderate interest, and like low interest. And some people will just put high interest for like everything, but that's not how I wanted to go about doing my process. I put high interest for the role that I wanted so bad. I put high interest for the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, a moderate interest for merchandising, low interest for character attendant, photo pass, and then I think front desk as well. Then they ask you a couple legal questions like, are you able to work in the US? Do you need any like assistance if you wanted to work in Florida, or if you wanted to work for the California location? And then I submitted it. Within about like 30 or 40 minutes, I got an email saying that my application looked good and that they wanted to move forward with a WBI. I waited till the next day to do my WBI, and basically what that is, it's just like a Likert scale. It has a question, a phrase, a situation, and you just answer if it's very likely or not likely, describes me, doesn't describe me. So you'll have like the extremes, you'll have like either one or two like in-betweens, and then you'll have the very middle one. I think it's good with this to answer more to the extreme and not as much on the in-between answers. And then it lets you know directly after that if you passed it or if you did not pass it. Right after I finished mine, it said, congratulations, you passed. And then it sent me a second email saying we want to move forward with a phone interview. And when I got that, it took me to a page where I could pick my date and time slot for my interview. Literally, the interviews are all day, so you can pick your time according to that and what's available. The time slot I picked was about a week later, and I picked it for at nighttime. I definitely think you should pick your interview time for what you think you're gonna be your most self, if that makes sense. I'm not a morning person, so I did not want to set my interview for in the morning. I made it obviously to where it wouldn't conflict with my work schedule or my class schedule, but I did it for at nighttime because I knew that would work best for me. And with this being said, I lived in a sorority house, so I'm just gonna be honest, it was not gonna be quiet at nighttime. That's probably the time of day that it is the most, like, everything is going on, people are going outside, people are coming inside, like all of these crazy things. So I was like, even if I say, hey guys, I'm doing an interview, can you guys keep it down? I knew it probably wouldn't happen. So I booked a room in our school's library so I could go and do the interview with complete peace and quiet. They can call you 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after your time that you set. So preparing for the interview, I think it's important to kind of have an idea of what you're going to talk about. I know that there's a lot of videos on YouTube of specific interviews, and I mean, I did look at one or two of those, and I think it's helpful to kind of get an idea of how the flow of the interview is. But I do think it's important to make sure that what you're answering is your answer and not somebody else's answer. It's important not to like rehearse what you're going to say, because if they ask the question that's just a little differently worded, it may throw you off and you may like stumble over your words. So I think it's good to have prearranged ideas as to what your like view of some of the questions are, but don't like rehearse any of your answers. So I did take some notes for before my interview, and I have them right here. I tore them out of my notebook. So basically what I did before my interview is I wrote down my roles that I was interested in, and I put bullet points underneath, kind of like why I thought I was qualified for that role. I thought it was important not to have paragraphs on the notes, because you want to be able to glance at it, because you don't want to be like waiting to answer it or having to like read off a script. I feel like it helped just because I wouldn't forget things and overlook them, because I knew I would regret it if I had a great reason why I was perfect for a role and I forgot to say it. On my paper, I wrote a spot at the top right for my interviewer, write her name as soon as she said it. People, I feel like react better when you incorporate their name if they have told you. Obviously, I want to make myself sound perfect for every single role that I was talking about, but especially my top role for the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. These are the reasons why I said I was qualified for this position. I did pageants when I was in high school, so I had hair and makeup experience. I had experience doing hair and makeup for my sorority shows and events. They were always knocking on my door like, hey, can you put on my fake eyelashes? Hey, can you like put blush on me? I had to make appointment slots towards the end of my time in my sorority. I was like, y'all, I love you guys, but I can't do everybody. When I did pageants, I did a program called Princess for a Day. That it's a program that kind of helps build up confidence in younger girls. Pretty much did exactly what the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique is doing. I did hair and makeup and nails. It was a really fun program, and I did it in my hometown, so I got to really connect with some of the community, which was great. And I also talked about how my sorority's philanthropy is Make-A-Wish, and the most recent wish that we granted was for a little girl that wanted to go to the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, and we got to recreate the entire boutique at our house, and I got to help do her hair and makeup. It was so much fun, and we did this before I even like had submitted my application for the program, so it was really cool to get to do that and get to kind of connect the Walt Disney Company and the Make-A-Wish, and it's just amazing how those things intertwine. That was a really cool point to get to talk about with the Disney recruiter. In the interview, it's like they have specific questions they are asking you, so it can kind of be difficult to throw in those like specific stories if it doesn't link to what the question is. I did put stuff down for merchandising, character student, and front desk and photo pass, but obviously I'm gonna try and talk myself up for my #1 role overall. Another thing that I put on my notes was like, why the DCP? I figured that's something they would probably ask me, and so I wrote out like that I thought it was a dynamic program that offered more than just a typical desk internship, because for my major I have to have an internship, and this is what I'm getting credit for. I'm kind of taking a semester off of school right now, but I am taking one online elective, and then I have an internship class that is correlating with this. I just kind of wrote down why I wanted to do the DCP and why I applied for it and why I thought it was going to be a good fit for me. And then I also wrote down questions for my interviewer. I think this is important not only because they feel like they're not just someone that's there to just interview you, but you can get other information out of it. Not only do I want to know like why they still love doing what they do, but I want to know what I'm going to get out of the program too, because it's not a one-way street with this. Like, I'm not just here to provide like a service for Disney. Of course that is a reason why I'm here, but I also want to get a lot out of my program as well. These recruiters are trained to be able to pick out certain aspects of someone's personality and their conversation, so they kind of are going to be able to tell where they think you're going to fit best. So definitely trust the process 100%. So whenever they have kind of finished with some interviews, they have what are called like waves, which is basically like if they're going through and accepting a chunk of people, that's what they're called. And it's kind of like everyone will know about them because people will be like, oh, I got my email, oh, I got my email, oh my gosh, I got my email. I got accepted the first big wave that was happening, so I was very fortunate to not have to wait and just wonder if I was getting in. I also found out like my role when I got my acceptance. My number one advice to anybody that's applying is really look at what you think you will do best in and find a way to talk yourself up for that specific role. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed listening to my experience with the application and interview process. Didn't really want to do necessarily advice because no two interviews are going to be the same. Even if I interviewed a second time, I may not have been where I am right now. Like, you just never know. I mean, I've met so many people that this is their second program that they're doing and they have a different role than they had before. So it just kind of depends on the interviewer and like the questions they ask and how you answer them. So just try and prepare yourself and you will do great.